Can we go dead one day for zombies?
No, we can't go dead for zombies, not even for Halloween. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Full Course Yellow. This is the In Pit Lane Zoomcast. This is just a sort of Thursday night get together where a few of us, get online and talk about all things motorsport. And my word, is there some stuff to talk about this week? That's for sure. And we'll get onto that in a moment. Remember, if you'd like to be a part of this panel, you can do that at any time. You can do it by a number of ways. If you would like to just use the comment section here on the YouTube channel, just put in your comments, put in your questions or your comments, or just say hi, and we'll try and get around to those as soon as possible. But we're just sort of setting things up at the moment, as it were. I'm just doing a bit of there.
Brett, I've got a new toy to share with you.
Stuart has a Stuart is this going to be a toy that is safe for for work?
It doesn't have batteries.
Well,
that doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah, that could cover just about anything.
Check out the brand name that's available at JB Hi-Fi. Influencer.
So what
that actually is the boom arm for the microphone. That's a boom arm for a microphone. It does this. It's the microphone up and down thingy.
Yeah, this
is that it?
Thing.
$30, and I thought I'd try it out. It's as cheap as you'd expect, but it does actually work.
So it's like a treadmill anyway. You can just hang your washing on and it dries.
And it even comes with a pop filter.
Well, that's actually that. So how much?
It doesn't come with a cat though.
No, not even the dead
cat come with a pop filter?
I hope so.
Cat's always
for everybody's sake.
She doesn't come with a claw filter either.
That's actually a good price, because this setup that I've got, I'm not sure about the quality, but a similar sort of thing. This was $60 for the setup, the mic and the arm and all the rest of it. So that's a pretty good.
I like the fact that the screw thread for the microphone mount, because it actually comes with a mic mount that you could put like your standard handheld mic in. But the screw thread that goes in the bottom of it is the industry standard, so you can go on other things as well.
Excuse me, Stuart, are you got some sound differences this week? You sound like you're coming from a man cave.
I've got my 3D machine rendering in the background, so you can hear a lot more fans. And I put on original sound? Yes, but the microphone, I haven't listened to it on this mount yet to hear if there's any like bouncing or waveguide action down the arms.
Comprehensively understandable.
Yeah, you sound like, apart from a bit of room tone,
it's probably the rendering
your
machine.
Are fine. So
I'm doing some artwork to annoy people with.
Let's talk about what's happening very, very late this afternoon, around 6:30 Melbourne time. Channel 9 in Adelaide went to air with a story. What they had at the time was an exclusive story that the Adelaide 500 is sadly no more. There will be no Adelaide 500. There wasn't going to be one next year, but there won't be one in 2022 or any time after that as well. The decision has been made by the South Australian Tourism Commission and the South Australian State Government to axe the Adelaide 500 after many years, after around 20 years or so. And of course, going back even further, that particular circuit in a much larger form, of course, opened, brought Formula One Grand Prix motor racing to Australia, and also ran the best race meeting that I've ever been to, which is the Adelaide round of the American Le Mans Series, the race of 1,000 years on New Year's Eve of 2000 and 2001. Just a fabulous meeting, one of the friendliest, as I said, best run race meetings I've been to anywhere. Nothing has come close locally, certainly, in terms of that. But well, guys, let's go back and we'll get into the whys and wherefores in a second. But
the natives must be restless on that.
Yeah, but with Tail and Bend having been established, and the Adelaide generally tends to be a little left-wing leaning, getting rid of racing out of the city is probably going to be on the cards anyway. So the moment Tail and Bend opened, this was a foregone conclusion. Yeah. Well, I think that's it. We did know was I might give this another bash in terms of screen sharing
for a moment. This is not. No, I've lost. No, I've lost that.
I
Unfortunately,
think you're going to get a lot of negative feedback. It may not necessarily be the general consensus to the whole of Australian population. Oh, sorry, South Australian population, but it's the old saying: you would probably the noisy wheels squeak the loudest. But
No, the squeaky
yeah,
wheel
if there
gets
is
the
some
most
sort
oil.
of that's why we try
That's the one.
in pit lane. It does. But so you're right there, Stuart. But the thing is, though, they're going to want some alternative. I mean, every single national sporting event that loses its status in a particular state, there's an outcry, and it seems to be until something's reinstated in some way, shape, or form. So you alluded to the Bend having it. So we were just discussing off air, the Asia Le Mans going to be stuck in Abu Dhabi next year for the whole year due to worldwide conditions. So we won't have Asia Le Mans like we did earlier this year. They're going to want something. So no supercars, no Asia Le Mans. You're looking at Bend, as you said, Stuart, it's the only place for something to be able to go around a track at a reasonable speed for a spectator's view. They're going to have to put something.
as you can see, I just put
hang
up on
for
stage.
Formula One level cars or for Le Mans level cars or for touring cars, the Bend, the layout does. It does lean itself to high-speed vehicles, but don't forget there's always Malala, and Malala is a tough circuit, but for cars that are handling more than sheer power.
Yeah, but Malala is very much a club state level thing now. They won't have any sort of major events at Malala. And Malala, incidentally, of course, has been bought by Sam Shaheen as well, who incidentally also put in an offer and approached Rodney Jane about the possibility of buying Adelaide International Raceway as well. So he wanted to sort of corner the market. I don't know. I'm assuming this is on stage at the moment. This is from the South Australian Tourism Commission Chief Executive Rodney Harricks, saying basically the interesting phrase here is that sort of second part, which says we have a terrific world-class motor racing facility at the Bend. We are very fortunate to have had significant private investment in that circuit, and we already know the motoring faithful are keen to support ongoing races there. I think that says very, very clearly that that there has been some considerable pressure behind the scenes from Sam Shaheen to basically say to
Look, he's going to want to make sure that his business model is successful, and no one can blame him for that. And you're going to end up with all the people who would have been complaining and doing the protests about closing down streets for a motor racing event will now not have a reason to complain. They can just go back to complaining about the horse racing that happens on the part where it's off the road.
The Bend also has the advantage in other circuits that can add a variable that not everywhere can unless you're at Calder Park with the weeds. You've got the short course and the long course, and that proved to be quite good viewing for local spectators, and also on the silver screen where they can see the range of tyres. You've got super soft, you've got a short course, you've got long course. So they can do it over multiple days. Or, of course, if the COVID continues to rock this world, it'll be done over multiple weekends.
The interesting thing, though, I mean, it's the same with like whether it's the Grand Prix or anything else. We also don't know at this stage, or as far as I know, unless any of you guys know, we don't know the long-term future, if any, for Newcastle. I think Newcastle is pretty much gone as well. So that's your bookends. That was the opening round at Adelaide, the grand final at Newcastle. The other thing that this does is it opens up the possibility that they're obviously going to be looking for a new opening round. And that very much opens up the possibility of it being basically February, as they're going to do next year, of it being February at Mount Panorama, which means, what does that mean to the Bathurst 12-hour? I mean, the 12-hour has been an enormous success by itself. Got a very, very different vibe, a very international vibe, a very relaxed and, dare I say it, upmarket vibe, which will be absolutely destroyed when every bogan and his cattle dog turns up on the top there for a damn good weekend at the mountain. So
be a bit more respectful, Brett. It's either a Blue Hill or a Kelpie. Thank you very much.
Either way, it's going to be. It will change. I mean, there's no threat to the 12-hour. The 12-hour was such a significant event.
Yeah.
by itself. However, it could be sort of, if they decide to sort of run the two events together, it's certainly going to affect the atmosphere there, and it's also going to affect, the ability of a lot of people to just turn up who don't want that, who like that sort of, more upmarket international atmosphere rather than the supercars. But
I
Pete,
think you can see a tumultuous 5 years. The calendars for supercars and the support categories for each round with the different owners we've got at the moment and different organisations running all the parts of the shows. You've got all Sandown, Phillip Island here. You've got Adelaide, the Bend over there. You've got Newcastle dropping off. You've got Queensland Raceway. You've got Townsville. You've got Eastern Creek. All these different events seem to be chopping and changing each year. I can't see any settling of any particular course or road event for a few years to come. It's going to be switching and flying, and there's negotiating. So we used to have a nice, quiet, normal, predictable calendar each year for supercars and the support categories. It just seems to be all over the shop at the moment.
My understanding is that the Tail and Bend will have a 500-kilometre event, being the precursor to Bathurst, like it was meant to be this year. And my understanding is that will happen next year, all being well. And that the Eastern Creek night race will happen as well.
yeah, the Eastern Creek race, I suppose the Sydney Motorsport Park event is a possibility for an
Sydney
opening
Motorsport
round
Park. Yeah.
as well. Yeah, because they've got the lights now. They were going to use them this year, but it would be a good time of year. I mean, it would still be nice and warm. It would still be it'd be a good sort of introduction to the year. Come out and see the supercars under lights for the first round of the year in prime time on new broadcast on Channel 7. That would be that would be good.
I think, Chris, you've got an event coming up for supercars too. Around, you've got enough space around the manor there behind you, haven't you, Chris? That you could, or you get yourself a decent pit lane, at least the minimum size of Phillip Island, which is officially a bike track, so you don't have to, take over Lindsay Fox's glory, and just put a track around the manor behind you, buddy, and you're home and hosed.
I'll have to consider that.
Chris,
Yes.
is that the manor that's up around Wood End?
Well, yes. Romsey.
In other words, Doc, there
Mintaro.
is a track behind that. There's
There
the
is.
Oh, is there?
proving ground track behind it.
Yeah,
The
heavy
off-road
armoured
proving
vehicle
ground for the army and the police.
testing track.
Yes, we do know,
fine.
Stuart. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to
That
our
would make a
attention.
good World Rally Championship track, wouldn't it?
It
Get
would,
some
We're
rally
really on
cars
track
or
now.
some stadium trucks out there.
and some rally cars have gone around it.
come
Just
on,
line
Chris,
up some
you're gonna have to get-
tanks for some extra obstacles,
Excitement, yeah.
Chris, just keep an eye on your inbox during the week. Stuart's going to send you an email for all the upgrades that you need to get done out the back there, buddy.
Yeah, if you got any connections, well, Rally Australia's looking for a new home, so that would be that would be a pretty good one, I think, around there. To a couple of people watching, Richard Catchlove's watching you. G'day, Richard, again. Welcome to you, and also
Arthur Scott, Richard.
We've got Sniper Battle 666. The number of the Sniper Battle is saying, any idea with the news earlier this week on a return to the TV show? It won't be happen. That won't be happening this year, as far as we know. I think that RMIT University has basically written off. RMIT has written off this year. So as far as I know, we haven't heard anything at all about when things will open up once again at RMIT. And obviously, until that's all done, we don't know about when or if we're going to get back into the television studio. First opportunity we get, as long as there's something happening we can talk about and we can get some bands in and that sort of thing. We'll be back. Boy, we'll be back because there's a lot of crew members out there who are saying we want to get back in the studio, which is
They've got
lovely.
cabin fever, haven't they, Brett? I think there's some. We've got some reports of some crazy things going on behind their own walls.
Yes, I think everybody's getting. I think a few people are getting a little bit stir crazy. So it'll be good to get back. But But yeah, so anyway, that's the situation with in terms of supercars. The other thing that came out today, and this is not a surprise, certainly not a surprise to me, is we heard once again the regular sort of 6 monthly rumour that Kia are about to sort of make the entry into supercars. Not only has Kia come out today and say it won't happen, they've said it in no uncertain terms as well. They've basically said we do not want to be a part of this. Even it's not money, it's not there. We do not want to be a part of this. So if anybody was thinking of just building up a Kia Stinger just for their own reason, and without money, it's like it's not necessarily a money thing. It's just this is not our market. We do not we do not want to be a part of this. The other thing they said, which I think was, and this is the trouble of having manufacturers involved in anything. It was something that somebody from Mazda said to me, sort of many years ago at one of the motor shows we were at. It's like, and what the guy from Kia said today was, if we get into any sort of motorsport, we want to effectively be guaranteed that we will win. And if we can't be guaranteed that we will win, then we're not interested in being there. So
the Stingers are just
they don't
they
really
want to
know
stick to
how
just going around
motorsport
widgets
works
hats.
then.
well, they do know how motorsport works. They just don't. Well, they just see it. This is why there's so many of these one make series. You see that that Bugatti that has been testing at Paul Ricard, and everyone got very excited and went, Bugatti's coming back to Le Mans. It looked like an LMP one car. It looked like it had the big honking great fin on the back. It had everything that you would want for a Le Mans car. They've come out now and said no, it is going to be sort of a very, very rich man's collector's item, and if it races at all, it will only race in a one make series. We don't want to be racing with anybody else, like Porsche
Or a
with the
one-car
Carrera Cup.
race.
Don't want to, they at least race in some categories. So, but there's a lot of manufacturers who are just saying, we'll race the cars in a one make series. That way, we are guaranteed to win.
They don't want to over budget the HR department where they have to stand criticism and deflect problems, etc. It's just a whole new budget and a whole new department they'd have to create to facilitate all the inquiries, I suppose.
There you go. There's the Bugatti.
Yep, yeah,
It's,
that's it there.
And you can
Hang
see
on.
where I screen scraped the images from.
Yeah.
So it looks the piece. Now, what were you saying there about witches hats and cones there, Doc? I mean, because that's a
I
whole
was gonna
different sort
say
of
that-
racing, isn't it?
That's the Stinger is, I'm not talking about Motorcarner here, but the iconic ad for the Stinger in the last few years is where the guy goes running along at night with a line machine, and he gets a little bit distracted and just goes in squiggly lines, and then the Stinger goes flying through it, showing its performance, I suppose. So it's never really done any advertisements in the prowess of trying to say it's a speed machine.
The interesting thing, of course, is that they're saying we don't want to be involved in motorsport and anything unless we can win. There is homologated TCR Kia. It does run in use. So, as a result of that, I mean, if Kia did want to, that's why I think that's the strength I think of TCR. Whether people like it or not, the fact is, they've got manufacturers involved. There's a Hyundai, a Kia, a Volkswagen, a Seat, Honda. There's a whole bunch of cars that are currently homologated, Peugeot, Renault, etc., etc. There's unfortunately the Mazda 3, which looked absolutely spectacular when they had the concept for it. They've decided not to go ahead with that at this stage. But, pretty much everybody's got a dog in that fight. A 2-litre, small car. And Hyundai's got 3. I mean, they're running the Veloster, they're running the 130N, and they're running the 140N as well.
And the scrutiny of them is actually very good because it's turned out that thanks Stuart for the graphics there too. He's given us some pictures of probably some of the local tracks for the TCR cars there. They are pretty comparable in speed comparison. There seems to be different tracks, different speeds, and you don't have to change a hell of a lot of them to make them competitive. And it just seems to be some of the best drivers on the best days too. So it's just lucky that it's fallen into their lap. I mean, I'm sure there's obviously some restrictions that are put on some of the cars, but it's a great fun category where it seems to be some good even and qualified racing.
Yeah, I mean, when we went down there for Phillip Island, I mean, Richard Outram and I wandered down there for the. I think you might have been with us. Were you with us that day, Doc, or was it just Richard?
No, I missed it.
No,
I
I
did
think
see him.
yeah.
We saw him at Sandown.
We saw him at Sandown, that's right. Yeah, we went down the first time we saw him at Phillip Island. We spoke to a lot of people. Spoke to a lot of people down there regarding the cars, and like a lot of the competitors, but also a lot of the spectators who were down there as well. And they were all basically saying that they were really keen to be a part of the thing. So they said, yeah, we really like this category. So yeah, let's go for it. Okay, well, we move on to some Formula One news. We've got a couple of we sort of mentioned this last week. We thought it would happen. Now we know it's official. Haas have got are going to have a couple of new drivers,
Yes.
and the talk is one of them is going to be a Schumacher.
Yes, Mick Schumacher. Yeah, so that should be good. Of course, he's because he didn't get to run in the Friday practice earlier in the year at Germany, so he'll probably get a test at Abu Dhabi or somewhere there. Yeah, and I don't know who the second one will be. And the word is that Williams, that George Russell could be let go for Sergio.
No, I think he'll stay.
Do you reckon?
George has said he's not going anywhere, and I reckon he'll put it to a certain extent. I know Perez is a great bloke. I'm a big fan of Sergio, and there's definitely a huge amount of money behind the Mexicans, literally in that case. But there's, I think George has proven enough in his first year to warrant another Guernsey, and I think they'll probably run with him for one more year. I'm throwing my hat in the ring there. But if he doesn't put the points on the board next year, he'll be out the door quicker than you can say he's Perez. So there's some other big news as well, though, going on too.
Latifi, the Latifi family puts a bit of finance into the Williams as well.
A lot of finance.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be going anytime soon. Yeah.
No, well, the rumour going around in terms of Latifi, sort of long term, is that because the Williams has been bought by another one of these investment companies, one of these venture capital groups, and the rumour going around is that at some stage when things are settled down and when they can get a decent profit out of it, and all this the whole great global catastrophe is hopefully over, that they'll be able to the Latifi family will end up buying Williams. So that's one of the rumours that's going around at the moment. Interesting also.
His name escapes me now. Brad, who was that Russian driver?
Mazepan.
Yeah, he's the one I think that's got the might be mixed.
Yeah, he will bring a considerable amount of money to Haas as well. So it's all about. Unfortunately, it is all about money. So it doesn't really matter
People
how.
confuse him with Marzipan?
Yeah, we did that one last week. Yeah. I just want to take a grab from Mad Max's very short, sharp, and vague. Spaced in between interviews these days, he has thrown a name out there and has requested or said he'd like Nico Hulkenberg to join him at Red Bull.
He better be careful what he wishes for, I think, Max, because at the moment, I mean, he's got it pretty much all to himself right now. Since Daniel left, he had enough trouble coping with Daniel being faster than him on a lot of occasions. He might find himself, being put under a lot more pressure. And I think what we've seen with Max is he doesn't handle pressure all that well, particularly this week on his radio, because I'm amazed that hasn't been made more of. As somebody said, if if Lewis Hamilton had have said that stuff on his team radio that Max Verstappen said, concerning Lance Stroll, that would be, there would be a major controversy.
Also,
I have to look
speaking
this
of
up
the
now because I've
Red
missed
Bull,
that.
And
well, while you're looking it up, Stuart, also have a look up, obviously, AlphaTauri and the Red Bull outfit itself, because there is obviously some good results from Gasly this year and Albon as well, though, too. And Gasly didn't go so well last year. After about half a season, they dropped him to the AlphaTauri team, the second tier team, where I think Christian Horner was saying he's excelled at that since, because the spotlight not only as much, and also the concept of the car and the engineering of the cars from the full-blown Red Bull team to the AlphaTauri team is completely different. They said that the Formula One Red Bull car is a little bit more technologically advanced, and also the rear end is a lot more sensitive in the top tier team car. And Gasly has been able to understand that and sort of adapt to that, and can't match it with Max at the moment. That's where Christian said Max is just outstanding when it comes to driving. He can, and I suppose Daniel did too. But Albon will stay at Red Bull, and Gasly will stay at AlphaTauri next year, and that puts to bed all those rumours straight away. They're contracted.
Yeah, I haven't heard that Albon is a lock in. I know obviously Gasly is now. Gasly is staying where he is. But yeah, that's interesting. The other thing that's come up that is interesting is the fact that Lawrence Stroll, he of Alfa Romeo, has sold a huge slab of his shares in Aston Martin to of all people Mercedes AMG. So AMG now own a big slab of that race. So the Aston Martin racing team next year, which is already, of course, powered by Mercedes, will have very close ties with AMG. So that's interesting. So he doesn't own quite as many of the shares. Probably just enough shares to keep his kid in a drive, because obviously, I mean, if you were looking at it from a point of view of purely and simply form, then then Lance would be shopping for a run at the GT3.
The biggest news as well, though, too, is Mark Webber has thrown his Akubra, his dries a bone, and his RM Williams into the mosh pit here in Australia. By the way, you can get RM Williams, if you're trading your boots at the moment, you can get $150 off your new pair and $100 if it's not RM Williams. That's a deal. Thank you, Twiggy Forrest. But who's just bought out RM Williams?
I thank Twiggy Forrest for nothing. Man should be in jail.
I'm just talking about discounts, which he doesn't do much of. But Mark Webber said that he'll obviously endorse and do everything he can to get Oscar Piastri into a Formula One car for a full-time drive for a season by the start of 2023.
Yeah, Pete. Pete, what have you heard about that? Because I mean, Mark is sort of managing.
he's doing a test with Renault this weekend, I think, or this week. But that's all I've heard.
Might even be today our time. Might even be running as we speak.
Yeah. But I haven't heard anything about.
Mark does have good form in supporting Australian motorsport and other drivers, including Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he's very well. He's well credentialed. He's well respected. Everyone likes Mark. But I think it's just a little early. I mean, Oscar's done very, very well. Obviously, with winning the championship, but there is still a level to go. Now, some people, I mean, sort of, the guy he beat for the championship looks like he's he might be jumping through the talk of him jumping through beyond just ignoring GP2 or Formula 2 altogether and heading straight into Formula 1. So I mean that's possible, I suppose, but at the moment I don't see where there's a seat for Oscar or Teo or any of those people that are out of Formula 3, and there's enough trouble getting the Formula 2 guys guys in, which is a bit like what's happening with the supercars here. We've got, our mate Thomas Randall, wraps up the Super 2 series and is saying, I really want to drive, deserves a drive in the main event. Yeah, I mean, where's one coming from? Unless he can bring in, a lot of people are saying, well, Will Brown, if Anton De Pasquale does move to DJR from Erebus, Will Brown will probably fill in, who was the guy that Thomas beat for the championship. So Will Brown will end up at Erebus. That's of course if Dave Reynolds stays, because
I don't know where that rumour's coming from.
Oh, Blanchard's got a say in it all. DJR's got a say in it all. Fab's going to be moving teams. Who knows? There's obviously three. There's Coulthard, Davison, and Enon does beat Squally. It's about where the card's going to fall at the moment in supercars.
Yeah, well, I think
the David Reynolds one is interesting because he originally had a 10-year contract. So I don't know what's led that up.
Stands.
Yeah. Well, from the word that's going around, from what I hear from people, is that Dave loves being at Erebus. He gets on really well with Betty. Problem is Betty's not around as much as she is. What apparently who he's not getting on all that well with is Barry Ryan. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's the word that's going around, is that there is a clash. Certainly, from what I know of both of them, they're two very, very different personalities. Barry is a very focused, very serious, very disciplinarian, whereas Dave is more sort of he wants to have fun. He wants to entertain people. He's very, once he gets behind the wheel, he's 100% committed. But I just think that there might be a sort of a bit of a personality clash there, and that's something obviously that Betty's going to have to handle, because the other concerning thing for Erebus is that, once again, another rumour, and it's just a rumour, is that if Dave goes, Penrite might go with him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I could see that happening. Obviously, spending some time at the warehouse myself earlier this year. They love Penrite. Definitely loves Davey.
Yeah, and they're a hardcore motorsport. They had Penrite, of course, original sponsors of In Pit Lane. They were with us for quite some time. The Diamond family, sort of, local family, hardcore motorsport people, got a huge involvement with historic racing and all the rest of it, and also grassroots racing. So, I imagine they get on very well with David, and he's good, he's really good for sponsors, and that's really important nowadays. If you have sort of somebody who can, who's friendly and outgoing, and I think that's one of the reasons that that Roger's so keen on Scott McLaughlin, because he's only done the one race so far, and but the coverage he got from the American media. Yeah. Was just over the top, and just everybody who wrote about him, everything I've seen on Twitter from American journalists that I follow and all the rest of it, they've all said that, oh my God, isn't he the nicest guy?
In the shadow of all that, his fellow compatriot New Zealanders, congratulations to Scotty Dixon, who jumped on 6 titles, is now only 1 title away from the equal record of 7, which is in IndyCars. And he himself, I think I saw a snippet of it earlier on in the week, that he said it's going to be harder than ever, obviously, to get that 7th title with it's being so competitive, and each time he said it's got harder and harder to grab it. But he seems to have good form, and I'm sure Will have put his neck out, and Scotty he'll be giving him a wave as he goes past with the New Zealand flag out the window.
I hope they're not. People aren't too hard on Scotty McLaughlin. There was some stupid stuff that came out on some of the some of the Facebook groups. He finished 20. He crashed and he was running 20. Only qualified 21st, and it's the guy's first race, for guys. Never been to the track. Never, has driven the car in testing, but has never been to that track. Hasn't done a race. Was competitive certainly in practice. By his own admission, didn't quite get it all together for qualifying. But the point is, it's one race. He will be very successful, and I'm putting my neck out and saying that he will win at least a race, if not more, next year.
Look out if he finds his feet.
Yeah, that's
And he said in qualifying, he skimmed the wall, and he said that's purely and simply because I'm used to in the supercar being able to rub the mirrors off the
I
wheel.
was
yeah.
going to say, yeah, rub them off, smash them off.
And that's what people quickly forget is the fact that Scott has virtually, apart from karting, he has very, very limited open wheel experience, virtually none. I mean, he got involved. And I checked it out. He did a handful of races in the Victorian State Series in Formula Ford back around 2010, I think it was 2000, but it might have been 2009, which is interesting because when you look at it, probably we've got the footage of it because we were certainly the only people covering the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships back then. So somewhere amongst all of our first footage of lots and lots of drivers in the world of motorsport. We've got the earliest stuff of really early stuff of Scott McLaughlin as well. We just don't know where the hell it is.
Oh, we know the sort of the suburb, the vicinity it is, but
Well, yeah, we know the garage that it's in.
we know the garage, but we just need to borrow a metal detector off Stuart so we can actually find maybe where that hidden treasure's buried.
No, because a metal detector would be a bulk eraser for
Yes.
a DV.
And that's the problem. That's the problem we've got because a lot of the stuff is on
I was
tape.
being the idiot.
We don't know what the thing. I got hold of some of our before all the chaos. I borrowed a mini DV or a DV cam player from RMI TV and brought home and dragged out a few of those old tapes from sort of around 2004, 2005, that sort of thing. Put them, had a look at them. Most of them are okay, but there were a few of them that have just, they haven't lasted, and that's the problem at the moment. We've got hundreds or thousands of hours of footage going back to 1995. In fact, I've got personal stuff before that going back to about 80, probably about 81 or 79. So
just a reminder, Brett, that the tracking is very critical on DV, and it might be just a case of it needs to go into a different camera or maybe the XL1 to play it.
Thank you for all our full course yellow watches. We just had that vision of Brett just sitting up in the attic like Chevy Chase in National Lampoons with his pink gloves on and his dressing gown and there and the video cam going onto the wall with all those old memories going and munching on crisps.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get all that stuff going. But it is a shame. I mean, the stuff is all out there. I remember many years ago, Peter Hansen, when he was head of cams, was got in touch and said, can we get how can we save this stuff? There's so much of it out there that has been lost over the years, and it would be really great to have a national archive of footage from from all the television stations and from including us. For use for people. I still get phone calls occasionally from someone saying we believe you have footage of Mark Webber in one of his early races, or and even drivers. I mean Jack Perkins has been and said you've got footage of me running in the karts in an interview when I was about 11. Would really like to get my hands on that. And it's like, well, yeah, I remember that day. I sort of know where it was. It was at Todd Road. But whether I could find it, I've had a look as I've been sorting through, because a lot of the stuff I just didn't, I never thought of it being long term. It was just once it was finished, it went into the thing to either be taped over again, because tapes were expensive. I mean, we used to spend sort of $35, $40 on a tape, and that was you didn't use them once, you used them for as many times as you could get away with it.
Speaking of things expensive, I don't know how Lewis Hamilton's going to live with himself if he races for a couple of more years, because just by the way, guys, we're going to have to take a wage cut. By 2023, we're all got a limit of. I'm just going to say the budget's been cut back to we can only afford to be paid $30 million a year each by 2023. Okay, There's a new salary cap on Formula One drivers. 30 million a year is the top floor. So you're probably
can
going to
buy
not
an
be able to
airport
upgrade
each,
your scooter or your Segway or, Martini. There's no top shelf stuff anymore.
And it'll work about as well as the salary cap in football does. So,
yeah. I was
yeah.
going to say, Brett, you might want to consider seeing if the National Film and Television Archives want to take on your video set collection.
We spoke to them. RMIT. See, what was going to happen for a while was RMIT University wanted to get as much RMITV stuff available and put it in their archives.
Oh, okay.
And then they found out how, because it's expensive. I mean, it costs an awful lot. You've got to have someone go through it. You've got to have someone log it. They've got to know what they're looking at. You get our stuff, and it's like, if you don't know what you're looking at, it's cars going round in circles, more cars going round in circles, car going in a straight line with lots of smoke coming off the tyres. They've got no idea. They can't sit there and say, "Oh yes, that's a sports sedan race from 2000 and from 2011. That's a Formula Ford race from 2001." They just don't. They don't have that. So whoever does sort of our stuff needs to be someone who knows what they're doing, and preferably it'll be. Like if it's not me or Stuart or Richard, it'll be somebody from the show who knows their stuff to do it and is getting paid for it. But I think they Australian Film and Television Archives was saying that it was probably like a $100,000 plus job to go through and see what was there, save everything that was worth saving, log it all, know where it is, know what it is, why it is. Not just our shot, but a lot of stuff that Stuart, worked on, and all those things like Under Melbourne Tonight and Gwyneth's Head and all those sorts of.
Speaking of docos, there's if you keep an eye on the ABC, there's another Brock doco coming up, which I think is more of the glorified stuff, and they've got four special documentaries on just four sporting greats and achievements in Australia, and Brock seems to be one of them. But that'll all just be fuzzy stuff and good stuff.
Well, we'll see. I saw that this afternoon. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what it's like. I mean, the thing is, I mean, I don't see there's any point of this of going back and trying to find like everything. We know that by his own admission, he had some bad times. He did some stuff that was not particularly good, and we know about that. But I mean, the guy's long gone now, and I really don't see. I'm not trying to minimise what he did. There's a point where you over
rehash things.
Yeah, it's like we know there's no point going back in and sort of I don't think anything's going to be solved out of going in and those things that happened more than 30 years ago now. But I mean, what people want to know is the man and what he did on the track, and that's I think that's what people want. But anyway, we'll see what that's like. I don't know anything about it. There were so many things going around. There were so many Brock movies and docos and things planned, and only a couple of them have obviously happened. So
it would be more interesting to see what if there's any telemetry from a certain Commodore across the top of the mountain in the wet on slicks, and just see what the sort of inputs with the steering and the throttle we're getting.
Yeah, I don't realise that was obviously before all of that stuff. So we don't have the thing, but I mean, he was a master. I mean, we know that, and I think that's the thing about Scott McLaughlin as well. There are certain people who are just naturals, and Brock was a natural. He was at one with the car. I've told that story a few times regarding Emanuele Pirro, talking about him jumping behind a BMW, the wheel of a BMW, Group A came through for the first time at I think it might have been Imola, it could have been Monza. No, I think it was Monza actually. And
Imola's this week too in Formula One.
Yeah, and he just said, look, go out and, just get used to the car. You haven't driven the track all that much. You haven't driven the car. Just go out, just be comfortable, see what, get the feel of it, and, just have fun. And about 3 or 4 laps into the run, Emanuele looks over, and one of the guys on the timing is sort of, beckoning him across and saying, just pointing down and pointing out that, the comfortable run that he was doing would have put him on the front row of the grid for the World Touring Car Championship round that had been there a few years ago. Not only that, but he did that same time, or within about within a hundredth of a second or so, lap after lap after lap after lap.
On probably 2-day-old tyres as well too.
So he was just as you said, he was a
Fresh
freak. He was just a natural with the car there, and we were fortunate enough to see him at work, and some of us were fortunate enough to know the bloke, and it was we were very lucky to have seen him. But there's lots of talent out there still.
Got some
Okay,
got some two-wheel news.
give us some two-wheel news, Doc.
Thanks, Brett. Just a couple of little bits and pieces this week, nothing major. Dovizioso, who has been in the running for the championship all year and still seems to be not at his peak of his powers, but still be able to throw a Ducati around the track and quite competently the last couple of years, might go into retirement. So he is having talks with Yamaha becoming a test rider for him, which is a bit weird because Jorge Lorenzo has been their test rider, which hasn't done a hell of a lot with Yamaha this year because of the restrictions. You can't go to tracks or, COVID or what countries. So, but Jorge was quoted a couple of weeks ago when it was thrown past him in an interview, said, what if Dovi jumped on board and become a test rider with you? And he said, I'd have him running alongside me any day of the week. So Yamaha obviously entertaining the fact that they might have two test riders because Jorge is keen on still doing it next year, and they might recruit Dovi if he gives up a full-time ride. And the other one is now the pubs are open here in Melbourne and Victoria, especially down the Sporting Globe down here, which I might try and con Brett into for a meal in the next few weeks. We might collide. Brad Binder owes Jack Miller a palmy and a pint at the moment for taking him out in the second corner, I think, in the race on the weekend. And in true Aussie style, Jack got up and Brad came over immediately to him and said, "Are you all right?" He says, "Well, I am." I won't use the F word, but you can imagine what the F happened. And Brad said, "Are you okay?" He says, "Yeah." And then he got back to the pits and had a look at the footage, and Brad to him and he goes, "Oh, well, this happens. I've done it before. He's done it before. Everyone's done it before. It's one of those things that happens." He said, "We'll just keep on going on." So I think credit to Jack. He took it on the chin. Someone took him out, and they'll still have a laugh over a frothy one day. Fortunately, they both walked away from it, even though this is how dangerous it is. Both Jack's shoulder airbags went off and his knee pads, and he said his suit was destroyed. So, and that was a low speed crash in a corner. So, yeah, it's really great season in MotoGP this year because there's no Marc Marquez still. Look out, everyone, next year. You're just going to be bystanders.
It'll be interesting if that's the case. I mean, after having sort of spent away, it'll take him a little while, I imagine, to get the full confidence back. I mean, he was and whether all those whether all the rest of them who have been winning while he's not been there, whether they've sort of got a bit more confidence and a bit more skill behind it. It'll be certainly interesting next year to see him come back, assuming that he does come back, and how they go with that. But the racing this year has been fantastic. It's been MotoGP has just been unbelievable racing, and the good news is that Channel 10 have announced that they will continue to have the rights and they will have it free to air. So if you don't want to pay Rupert Murdoch ridiculous amounts of money, then you can still see it, Pete.
They've also confirmed that the supercar race at the Grand Prix they will televise, because they're continuing with the Formula Ones next year.
Yeah, and that will also depend, I suppose, on the date of the Grand Prix, as we were talking about beforehand. As I posted earlier today, if you listen to Radio Show Limited, Radio Le Mans, Midweek Motorsport this morning, our time, Tim Gray was putting forward a Formula One calendar that was radically different to the ones that everybody else is putting at the moment. I mean, pretty much everybody is saying, no, the Australian Grand Prix will happen and it will be the first round. On this particular calendar, it was October the 24th, which is, as Pete pointed out before, that's the weekend of which is currently
US.
on the US Grand Prix. Yeah.
Well, I think you just said it, Brett. They, the teams, the drivers, and the management had a meeting on Monday just gone, where they were all informed of the 23 races next year, including 2 triple headers.
And one in Saudi Arabia.
And the Australian Grand Prix is going to be put back 1 week and to March 21. And the general consensus from everyone thinks it's fantastic and they like the calendar and where it was going and what they've been able to throw together for the 23 races. So is it someone just trying to stir the pot? And because everyone else seems to be on the same page except for that source.
Yeah, it's certainly the first I've heard about it. And as I was saying before the show to Pete and Chris, Tim Gray's got, and the Radio Le Mans guys have got very, very good credentials. Certainly John Hindhaugh and Nick Damon didn't know anything about it, but it was one that, Tim was very certain that, this was basically, there were a couple of plans, and one of the plans was that, at this stage, there would be no internationals coming into Australia. And Formula One have already said basically, if we're going to go anywhere, we're not quarantining. As far as we're concerned, we're in our own bubble. We are testing people constantly. We want to fly in and fly out with all of this sort of quarantine for even for just for 7 or 10 days is not going to be happening. We're going to fly in, we're going to fly out as per usual. And if your country can't accommodate that, then you can say goodbye to your Grand Prix.
And that's pretty much working this year. That's pretty much worked that situation.
They've certainly had. They have had quite a few outbreaks.
Yeah.
That's so that is a problem, and of course they're going through the second wave now. I mean, it's really exploding again over the winter. So it'll depend on how they keep on top of it and how we keep on top of it, because we wouldn't want it to happen again. I mean, can you imagine getting to March? We've got through the summer. Figures here are really, really low or even non-existent, and suddenly we let in a whole bunch of people for a Grand Prix, and then they say, "Oh, by the way, 14 people in the pits have tested positive for COVID-19." I'd be like, "Oh, not here we go again."
Yeah.
Well, the likelihood of us, we might have to, if we're anywhere near it, we might have to quarantine ourselves.
But they've managed to keep a season going with that system and with those outbreaks. But they're not having a crowd. They were originally going to have a crowd at Imola.
Yeah.
They're not having a crowd at Imola this weekend.
By the way, if you're wondering what the noise is, it is this. I have a very, very large blowfly has just flown in. So there he goes. He's just flying out.
I can't hear that over the echo in people's voices and the tinnitus wrapping around in my head.
Well, there you go. Yes, I haven't plugged my. I forgot to plug my earpiece in today. So yes, I'm would be echoing big time. Yeah, it was got there, but the blowfly is. Well, it's a big bushy actually. It's a big bush fly. So,
there's a new Aerocar that's just come out that's environmentally friendly.
I don't know if you see, he landed briefly on the microphone. I don't know whether you can see him. He wants to put in an appearance. But anyway, hey, listen, we might wrap it up there, guys, because I know that people have got things to do. I've got to eat for a start. Once again, it's around my dinner time, so I've got to go and I'm going to make some pork balls, if you don't mind. So I'll be doing that. There's the fly. There he goes.
Is anyone joining in the Adobe thing after midnight or 8 a.m. US Western Seaboard?
Yeah, that's probably a bit there. What we're talking about. We mentioned it last week. Office hours with Graham Kerr. I'm glad he certainly remembered Harry and Miller.
Yeah, he remembered Harry and Miller, but he kind of skirted around the other one.
Well, he didn't really, because what he was saying, what we were talking about last week, if you didn't watch, is Graham Kerr, very famous in the 1960s and 70s as sort of the first celebrity chef on Australian television, and he is still doing it. How old was he? 84 or something?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, and he's still doing this stuff, and I sent him a question on office hours. about Harry M. Miller and Glad Wrap, and he sort of covered it because he said I was very uncomfortable with some of the commercial stuff that Harry was pushing, and we sort of went our separate ways as a result of that, because the story was that Harry went to him and said, we've got this amazing new product. It's called Glad Wrap, and you could be the face of it. And not only do they want to pay you, but you'll get sort of a small amount for every roll sold in Australia. And Graham went, no, I don't think so, old chap. And bye-bye. And probably would have been considerably richer than he is now. But I don't think he's doing it tough.
Oh, he isn't.
But tonight on Office Hours, if you're in the film and television industry and you want to find out about the future of things like, I think they're doing, what is it, Dolby, Dolby Atmos?
Dolby Atmos Vision.
I thought you said Adobe.
I thought you said Adobe too.
Yeah, I did too. I did too.
But yeah, so it's Dolby.
That makes more sense.
But it's going to go through. It starts at it's going to be after the regular office hours, so it'll start at about 3 a.m. and it'll go through until about 10:30 tomorrow morning. So I'll be giving that a miss.
I'll watch the keynote speech and see what's going on, and then I'll go to bed too.
Well, I'm assuming that it will be on YouTube as well. I know last night's wasn't, but I'm pretty sure this one will be on YouTube. So if you haven't seen it, as I said, if you're interested in film, television production, particularly live streaming and that sort of thing, go to Office Hours. It's on every night. Hopefully they'll be going back onto their daylight saving soon. That'll move it back to midnight. But at the moment, starts at 1 a.m. and it's basically where we got the idea for this sort of thing. It's just a group of people, experts in the industry, getting together and talking about a whole bunch of production-related things, about improving your Zoom thing. I mean, one of the things they'll tell you is plug in your damn earphones, which I haven't obviously done. So apologies for that. But anyway,
So what to say?
Yeah. So, but I think we'll end it there. Thanks for everybody thanks to Richard and to Sniper and to
happy
everybody.
American elections. I hope you are all statues and become immune to it like Captain America here.
Oh
tonight.
yes, we will. Yes. By the time we come back for next week's show, we might be talking about the next civil war.
A new president of the world.
The new leader of the free world, and that's
and the man who got rid of COVID.
The man who cured COVID. Yes.
Around the room, I suppose I'll just I'll help Brett you along finish this up. Chris, you've got to got a lecture to go to.
Have I?
Yeah, in the manor behind you.
Oh, in there? No.
Is that the X-Man Castle or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone?
If your memory goes back far enough, it was the home where oh God, I can't think of the guy's name. The crazy guy.
That's a big the crazy guy.
That's an open-ended
Victoria,
question.
that's a big group.
Around the world, that's a big.
Pete, you're off jump in the yacht there at Monaco and going to head over to Imola and watch the Formula One this weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are you up to, Stuart? What's consuming you coming up this weekend?
I got to do an oil change on my new car.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah,
okay. Did you get the back seat in it last week?
Yes, and the damn thing is heavy.
He ain't heavy, he's my brother. And Brett, what about yourself, my dear chief? What does our illustrious leader going to get up to this weekend, the next few days? Oh, and by the way, we'll have a horse race that's run before the world as well too. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
yes.
It's with Melbourne Cup weekend as well this weekend. Happy long weekend to everybody, all the viewers and all the followers of In Pit Lane. Thanks for joining us.
Long weekend. Who cares?
That's all right. You'll be posting your glass of champagne as usual.
There will be glasses of champagne. That will be definitely consumed. But
if I can make one small note about the pseudo end of lockdown, has anyone been down to the shops lately?
I went.
Everyone was down at the shops.
From what I hear,
I happened to go down to the shops, and being cinematographer and photographer and people watcher, I happened to notice that even with our masks on and daggy clothes, there was this whole don't give a damn attitude. You were seeing people who were standing with their back straight, their shoulders back, their heads up. People were a little bit more confident and not giving a damn about all the appearance-related stresses that we had 6 months ago. So maybe there is a silver lining to pandemic in that people don't give a shit anymore.
And on that
Is that
confident
a
note,
silver lining?
I
Really?
was going to say, on that, what,
Well,
were
it's
they
a brown
wearing
note.
moccasins or Ugg boots?
yeah, I think the point for me is
Sneakers,
I
mostly,
don't
I
know
think.
I don't know what I'm doing. The only thing I know is that after this I'm going to make some pork balls for dinner, and once I
Do a
have done
fly out the
that,
door so it doesn't eat ammonia.
yeah. So there, and then I'll
Extra protein.
yes, well, it's certainly big enough. I mean, but anyway, we'll say goodbye, guys. I think that we've put on more than enough, waffled on more than enough. We will see you next week on Full Course Yellow. Well, no doubt there'll be more things to talk about. As I said, if you would like to join us on the panel, you can do that. We've got a link below which can take you to our jot form, and all you've got to do is ask for an invitation, and we will send you the Zoom link. And then you can be one of the people here. That's, it doesn't matter where you come from. It's from Australia, from New Zealand, from anywhere in the world. As long as you've got a reasonable, video connection and a reasonable audio connection, and you've got a contribution, you can make a sensible contribution to the conversation, we would love to have you. So until we see you next...
It would be absolutely fabulous if any of the in-pit lane alumni who've gotten jobs around the world wanted to tune in. I mean, Rudy and Artie and Coram, who have all got jobs in broadcast.
Yeah, well, we could...
Maybe
yeah,
even
certainly.
Dr. Cavell.
Yeah, no, yeah, Richard. If you're watching in far off, I think he's still under the witness protection scheme, so we can't. We probably
We
won't be
won't say
seeing
which
him.
country he's not
We
in.
won't say which country he's in unless somebody gives us an awful lot of money. Okay, guys, we will see you next week. Until then, from all of us here, remember the In-Pit Lane website, the In-Pit Lane Facebook page. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. It's really important. And hopefully now we're starting to move around again. I'm starting to put out some feelers about places we can go and things we can do within the restrictions we have to start doing some actual stories again and go out and get into a few workshops and see a few cars being put together, because there's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of people have taken advantage of this break to either rebuild or build new cars or something. So anyway, thanks for joining us. We will see you next week. But until then, from all of us here, it's bye for now. Bye bye.
Bye bye.